Okay, this is one I've been threatening to do for a while for you guys, and I told you I was going to put one on here regarding Linux Mint 19, and this is it. This is 19. I'm going to show you another video as well, but first I wanted to show you what some of my settings were, so you knew. And let's go down here and I'll show you the basic setup. This is what I'm running. Linux Mint 19. This is the Cinnamon version. Cinnamon is the, you might say, the flavor of the desktop. There's the Linux kernel I'm running. I'm running an Intel Core i7 3770 CPU at 3.4 gigahertz times 4. I've also added another 4 logical cores through the use of hyper-threading. It seems to work a little better, a little faster, everything. Okay, and then we have memory of 16 gigs, shown here as 15.6. Hard drives, I have a total hard drive capacity of almost 5 terabytes. It's in 2 separate drives, one active, the other one is volumetric storage. Okay, then let's go down here. I've got the one active I have is a 3 terabyte standard drive. The other one is a 2 terabyte standard drive. Okay, this is the graphics card. It's a 2 gigabyte graphics card. You can see there it's a NVIDIA Corporation. GM107 GeForce GTX 750 Ti. Okay, that tells you what that's all about. I'll show you an idea of the settings I use on X-Plane. On your rendering options, here you go. Extreme on your texture resolution. Normally I'll be running at full screen. I won't do that for the sake of this presentation here, however. Screen resolution will be default monitor settings until I go to this one here. Okay. I'm drawing aircraft carriers and frigates, high-res planet textures, etc. The runways follow the terrain texture. The trees are overgrown. Number of objects is extreme. Number of roads extreme. Number of cars, because of the area we're in, is Siberia winter. World distance detail is very high. Default on runway and taxiway smoothness and lighting. On my shadow detail, I'm all the way up to global melt your GPU. Water reflection is complete. That's total. Special effects, all the way up. You can read those there for yourself. I'm not going to go through them. Because of our weather being active weather, it's showing 10% or less, not many. This is the lateral field of view at 70 degrees. And I got those by setting it to extreme, okay? It shows us as creating the necessary VRAM of 1395.08 megabytes, okay? Now let's swing off of that one. And I can show you further what's going on down here. Let's see here. What did I want to do? I wanted to show you something else that was really important. Can you imagine? Oh dear. Anyway, let's go on here and we're going to come off of that like so. So now we'll come back over here and I'll go up to output. Now this is one that I made earlier. Let me see if I can find those specs a little more clearly about what I'm actually running as far as computer and everything, and we'll go from there on it. I'm just going to let that ring, so don't worry. Yeah, he can get a call back. All right, now let's go in here and we'll into our documents. Excuse me. Let's see, is that it? No, I don't think that's it. Nope. I don't see that I have them on this machine. Let me check the other disk real quick here. Okay. See if they're on here. They may be on here. If not, I saved them to a 2 terabyte. Yeah, I saved them to the 2 terabyte. Okay. Alright. Okay, so we can go ahead and close that out. Now, what we're going to do is, this is a clip that I made earlier. These clips comprise one video of a flight I made. This will show you the effects of the rendering, what it does, the frame rates, everything. So without further ado, let's get into those. We'll click each of those because we're going to run them consecutively. And we'll go up here to File. We're going to open this with VLC Media Player. And there we go. Now we're getting ready to take off from our little home field here. I'll give us full screen. Flying the school plane, but you can see the effects of the rendering now on this. We've got some wind, not a whole lot, quartering in from the port side. And it'll end just about where this beacon is, and watch what happens when the wind ends, the quartering wind ends. There we go. Now we're back out of it and we're into basically a straight situation. Gives you some idea of the solar effects on the fascia panel, i.e. dashboard to those of the living. It's a good program. It works really, really well, and I especially like it on Linux. I don't have a bunch of stuff to clean up all the time like I did on Microsoft. I'm really a lot more relaxed with it. I think it's better for your mental health, you know, and I need all the help I can get there. Anyway, what I've done is I've taken an old Dell 7010 business computer and done all my conversions on it. My power input is now 750 watts. And you know what the video card is. I told you what that was and everything. With the hyper-threading, I'm getting, with logical cores, about 8 usable logical cores, 4 of which are actual cores. Okay. This capture that I'm using now to show you this and to record voiceover with it is a thing called Kazam, which is it's a Linux program. The initial filming itself, or capture itself, was done with the onboard AVI video capture, part of your program of X-Plane 10.5. Very nice. And you notice it draws in every lake, a lot of the rivers, not all of them, and no streams. It shows streams as wet areas with brush at this point, which is fine. We have a lot of smoke from that's still, you know, hanging in the air and around the mountains and everything from the Canadian forest fires, and we've had a couple off to the west of us, and they were pretty bad fires. We had some rain the last couple of days, and so they're at least, I think they're all perimeterized right now, and or in at least a controlling situation at this point. So they're forecasting the 10th of October. This is now the 30th of August. So that tells you how long it takes them to finish mopping these things up and getting them squared away. We're about 13 miles south of the Canadian border as you fly. This lake we're flying over here is called Spectacle Lake. We're in north central Washington in the county of Okanagan, and we're just above the Okanagan River Valley here. that little lake off to your right, off the nose to the right, is a thing called Wanakut Lake, and there's a little lake beyond there, a no-name pothole. And a little bigger lake just before you get down to the river there, and for the life of me, I don't know the name of that daggone lake, and I've lived here for a long, long time. Isn't that dumb? Anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to hop over this ridge ahead of us, this rather bearded ridge you see there. And down at the bottom of those steep hills is going to be a lake called Palmer Lake. Great ice fishing in the wintertime. Some of the largest ling cod you've ever seen, freshwater lings, come out of that. General species, burbo. What they're called when they're small and it's a kid fishing for them, bullheads. There's the nomenclature on the ling cod there. Anyways, you can see as we're getting over here, approaching this big dip that the lake is in, the mountains are extremely sharp, extremely high. Facings, this sort of thing. And it's just like it's almost like a little fjord that you might see in Norway, but it's not, it's a lake. And it's down in this gigantic chasm. And the little river feeding it is part and parcel to a larger river beyond it there called the Similkameen. And it's a seasonal river, but it was the home to some of the largest gold strikes in the Northwest, at least the Northwest United States. And here we're coming out over the lake now. My dad had a ranch right down below us almost now. Well, this second bunch of trees, see a little bit of bunch of trees there on your left, then there's another one right there close to the lake, and he was just above that. And he had a section in there, and he ran cows and made hay and all kinds of stuff. Very steep country, had to work pretty hard at it. Here we're going to go down through some of this smoke that's settled in here. We're going to go down the valley and fly over a little town called Loomis. The thing I like about flying around here is you can take, you can be to the coast over there in the general North Seattle area within about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours in a good plane, fast plane. And you can fly it at 10, 12,000 feet and you're pretty safe. Or over here where you're familiar with the area, you can fly the canyons, fly the peaks, and check for deer and elk, their habits and everything. There you see some of the effects of flying in actual weather. And these are actually there. These clouds or these smoke clouds are there as a result of the dampening of the forest fires and the residual haze, smoke, and mist that accompanies it. You see how they hang in there among the ridges. Kind of like cirrus clouds, but they're not, they're smoke. You smell them when you go through them. That angular road you see going up the face and coming back towards us there goes up to a lake. Excellent, excellent fly fishing. In fact, the fish are so large, you have to do it with a barbless fly, and you're allowed a 2-day catch only, and catch and release. And some of the best fly fishing in the United States. It's really great. Now here, that little copse of trees you see down here just past this little knoll on our left houses the little town of Loomis. And when the ranchers forget items from the stores in Omak or Tonasket, they come back down here and hopefully find what they forgot. There's a little general store, and believe it or not, there was a used car dealership there for a little while. I don't know if it's still there. And there's a little fire station. Good little community. Everybody knows everybody else. Which, depending on your thinking, is either good or not so desirable. Now remember, we flew over a lake called Spectacle Lake. That's it in the distance here. We're going to fly over it this time going back. But you can get an idea of some of the topography and terrain and scenery associated with this country. It doesn't make much of a difference if I go to Tree Hugger on the settings on the trees, but I found all it does is it adds like palm trees, and we're north of the 49th parallel, so I don't want those. And the deciduous trees it adds, it tends to do it right smack in the middle of a roadway. And you don't really see it too much out here, but you get into town and it doesn't really lend itself to a sense of reality while you're flying over town and this sort of thing. Now here we're starting at the upper end of the lake, and we're going to fly down it here with the little 172. Excuse me. Smoke. All that smoke back there. It'll get you. You can see there some of the effects of the wind on the water and everything. If you get down real close, you'll actually see that on each of those big waves, I don't know if we're going to get that close, but you can see little air currents sweeping across them, creating little smaller ripples on top of the big ones. They really did quite a good job on the rendering on this thing. They did a lot of thinking and a lot of hard work. I think the program is well worth the money and the investment in the equipment and everything you need to use it. It will make you a better pilot. It's an excellent study in angle of attack and everything else without having to buy the gas, pay for the hangar rental, or if you're in a club, pay for the rental of the aircraft or whatever. And if you're on a commercial machine, which is set up by the FAA, it's the same program, but it's legal to do your currency on it. In other words, keep current on all of your upgrades and everything. I'm taking this school on instruments and everything else right now. It's a good school. The only thing I don't particularly care for about it is they have you fly on the East Coast quite a bit, and I'm not ever really going to do anything like that. I like it out here, and I'm getting just old enough I don't want to go back there and get in the middle of it. But we have enough tough weather and tough conditions to keep you on your toes. I like to jump in a little J3 Cub and work with my stick and rudder a little more, because even this guy is just kind of, it's pretty simple to operate, and it'll do a lot of the stuff that you would normally do. It'll practically do for you, you know, as far as I'm concerned. But even in the simulator, you still use the pattern and still watch your AGL and everything else you need to do, even though it's a non-towered airport in a remote area. There's a grass field up by where we live, and a guy's got a landing strip on it. A lot of times I'll fly from town to there or back, or both. About 13 miles one way, just long enough to get the engine warm. And here we're coming down to merge with the down leg at our proper AGL. The video card only requires about 75 watts. So with a 750 watt power source, the video card doesn't work hard, the CPU doesn't work hard, nothing gets hot, and actually the 750 watt power source draws less than the 275 that was in it originally. Figure that one out. And all things together, they're a lot less demanding on our solar system because we're off grid and on solar power. We have a 24 volt system. And it's sufficient to where I don't even need to add wind power. I had wind power with it, in conjunction with it at one time, and I took it out. Just something more to break. We have emergency backup generators, but we rarely use them. Okay, now here we're coming in from on a fairly short final from a fairly high altitude. We're right at the top of our AGL. But she settles in nicely. Got a little bit of crosswind we're working against right here. And it'll end quickly. There it goes. And now we're back on track here. And you can see the socket straightened out. You have to be ready for that because you're down here between these two pretty good sized humps. And we get a lot of shear, and as the evening cools we get a lot of downdraft off those hillsides. And they'll converge into one big 7 or 8 degree shear. So you've got to be on your toes a little bit. I'm going to get down here and get down here around the beacon someplace and pull it off and park. It's a good little runway. Normally over there by the beacon, the airport actually has 2 or 3, shanty hangars, that kind of thing, aluminum hangars. And they've got a small flight office and comm shack with it. But it's just for incoming stuff and everything that, or if somebody needs to call out or, this sort of thing. It's convenience more than anything. And I have them in on my other program on my 18.3. However, since I put in 19, I'm having trouble loading the program that I use to put those in with. It's called WED, and it's World Detailing. It's a World Editor is what it is, what it stands for. And I had it looking on 18.3. I've got it looking just exactly like our original airport. There's some trees over there, and large trees and this sort of thing. Some fruit trees. But we'll get to that point and get it dialed in. If you're using CH rudder pedals, you'll need to put those into the program, and to do that you'll need to use, you'll have to go in as root, which is easy to do. And then once they're in as root, all you have to do is open your open your simulator as root. In other words, you sign in as administrator. That's what root is, administrator. And then you can, then the rudder pedals are there every time. Otherwise, if you don't do it from root, you've got to put them in every time you want to fly. And I'd rather just do it from root than I don't have to do it every time. I don't know about the other rudder pedals. I don't know how they would do, but C and H, or CH, that's what you have to do. And I use a CH Pro yoke rudder pedals, and I also use a Logitech stick. That works real well. But that gives you some idea of the rendering quality and the possibilities that you can achieve with it, at least in this kind of an area. And the frame rates you can anticipate with a small low-cost system like the one I did. And you can do it all on a used business computer, which worked out really well for me. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just jot them down on the, below the video there, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Thanks for watching.